Welcome, welcome, welcome to the art of shifting consciousness and changing your life. I don't know which class we're on, so we're going through to Christmas and we'll figure out what we're going to do in January. Are we in? Are you in the room? You sitting down? No? Come on. Okay. So we always begin everything at the Center for Spiritual Living with a spiritual mind treatment. Remember, it's 5 steps. No, I'm not going to have you come up and do it. It's okay. Just relax. Come on in, Chet. Sit. It's etiquette. If you come in and we're in the middle of the treatment, please stop at the door. You know, don't bang and clang your way in and move all the chairs to sit down. So, we know this presence and power, this divine energy that is spirit itself, whatever it is. We know that it is infinite and absolute, that it is universe and beyond, time and space and beyond, this dimension and beyond, that it connects everything and everyone, that it creates out of itself, that it is the cosmic wow. And so we open to that idea that's bigger than any kind of a mental construct idea can be. It just goes on without any stopping, without any limit. And yet we know that it is also the very life that lives us, the breath that breathes us, the thought that thinks us. We know that it is what we are, and so we open to that awareness that there is something within each one of us that is bigger than anything we have ever imagined. It transcends and supersedes any condition or effect, any experience in our lives. It's bigger than any story that we have about who we are. It is the presence of the divine in us, as us, is us, right now. And we just embrace that. It doesn't matter if we understand it, we don't need to. But we open to the possibility of that greatness within us. And so we move to the next step of treatment, which is to know that since we are created out of the divine, then whatever it is we are. So we know spirit as prosperity and abundance, and that is our nature. So we claim that in our bank accounts, in our wallets, in our portfolios, in our accounts of all kinds. We are prosperous, we are abundant, we are rich, because that's what we're made out of. And we know that whatever spirit is, we are, and that spirit is absolute health. That there is a health and wholeness intrinsic within all form. Every time we get cut, we heal. Leave the rivers alone and they'll clean up. There is a balance and a health and wholeness. And so we claim that inside of our physical body and the body of our affairs. We know that every cell in our physical body is the health and wholeness of spirit. It has everything that it needs. It knows exactly what to do. And it easily releases anything that it no longer requires. We know that every cell comes together with every other cell to form organs and muscles and bones and joints and ligaments and systems. That we have healthy respiration, digestion, elimination. Our bodies are healthy. The body of our affairs is healthy. We know that whatever spirit is, we are, and let's face it, spirit is love. We open up to that feeling of spirit, and it always shows up as love. So we know we are created out of love. We live in a world created by love, and love is what we are. So we open to that, and we see love inside of ourselves, and we see love in everybody else around us. We know who we are. We remember who we are. We are a being of love, alive and well on planet Earth. And we know that whatever spirit is, we are. And whatever spirit is, has got to be some idea of success. Evolution keeps moving onward. The universe continues to expand. We keep discovering these amazing things about life. That is a successful energy that we are created out of. And so we accept and claim that success in every area of our lives. We know that whatever we need, we have. Whatever we need to know, we know. That the doors are opened, our way is made clear, and we move through our lives with our head held high, living that God life that we were always meant to live. We are healthy, we are wealthy, we are love, we are success, we are beings of joy and happiness and celebration. Life is great. And so we are grateful, full of greatness, grateful, happy, thanksgiving for all this experience of life, for remembering who we are, for knowing the truth about ourselves, for having this great life. And so we've done our spiritual work, we've done the real work, the work on the inside, and now we let it go. We just allow this spiritual law of the universe to do what it does, which is to take thought and bring it into manifest form. And together we say, and so it is.
I'm sorry, I want to apologize for causing a commotion. I have no idea that we started.
I haven't started yet. I thought everybody was in the room.
When I walked in tonight, I wouldn't know.
No, you were fine, but just as a heads up, because that sometimes happens, and it's good just to let people know, treatment etiquette is that if we're doing a treatment, you come in late, just stand in the doorway. Thank you, Ann. You know, that's it. And there's just a sense of respect for that. But we waited for you, Chet. I just didn't know you were in the bathroom until you came out.
Again, I apologize to everyone.
No, don't be sorry. You are spirit informed, the great I am. Please do not end that with sorry. You are not sorry. You have nothing to apologize for. You know, you are God showing up as you. Be very mindful of how you end that phrase, I am. None of us are sorry sorts. We are powerful beings, you know, way beyond our wildest imaginations. We are amazing. So, last week, how many people are here for the first time tonight? Bart, Chet, were you here earlier? No.
2 months ago.
Okay, and Heather is your name? Heather and Leslie. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little review of where we are, because I think this is an amazing class. And as I said last week, I'm making it up as we go along, but there's a continuity to it. It's the art of shifting consciousness, because consciousness is cause, and our experience is effect. And when we shift consciousness, our experience shifts. We don't want to only, although there's nothing wrong with it, but we don't want to only learn how to create money. But money's pretty cool. We don't want to only learn how to manifest things, but manifesting things is also pretty cool. But if all we get out of science of mind is how to say, I now have more than enough money to pay my rent. I now have more than enough money to pay my rent. I now have more than enough money to pay my rent. And we get more than enough money to pay our rent. That's great if you really, all you want to do in life is pay your rent. But what I want us to do is I want us to shift to a higher state of consciousness. And if you remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we have security. Is it just security? security and safety needs down at the bottom, so I now have more than enough money to pay my rent, is all about security and safety. We want to get up there. We want to become self-actualized beings, you know. We want to open up to the love. We want to be able to see that presence of spirit in and as everybody. And I tell you, when you're in that state, your rent was paid a long time ago. Because consciousness creates experience. So what we want to do is we want to shift our consciousness to up-level it to a greater level of awareness of who and what we are, what's going on planet Earth, and get out of the mundane and move up into, you know, and I did it in the beginning, higher states of being. So yes, I did. I'm going to say higher and lower. I know God is all that there is, and everyone is on their perfect and right path, but sometimes people can be so dense in terms of density and solidness and thinking that what is true in form is the only thing that's going on, and if it's never happened before now, it ain't never going to happen. And so what I want us to do is I want us to lighten up, to expand, and to rise up in consciousness. So we had some wonderful exercises to do that. We started off with this idea of what you see is what you get. And so we had the pictures of the old lady and the young lady. And we went back and forth and back and forth. See the old lady. You got it? See the young lady. You got it? See the old lady. You do it in your mind's eye. And you can feel your brain shift. And I said I wanted you to learn what that shift felt like so that you would be able to recognize it when it happened in your life. If you're looking at a bank account that is overdrawn, wouldn't it be helpful if you could flip that to where you've got $100,000 in that bank account, and if you could feel that flip in your inside of you, if you could command your thoughts and emotions to the level where you can decide what it is you're going to see and not just react to what stimulus is given to you. So we did the two silhouettes of the chalice. Is it the chalice or is it the two faces? Is it the chalice or is it the two faces? And then we did the stories. Remember the story about the woman who sat next to the guy on the plane or in the airport, and he kept eating her cookies until she got on the plane and she realized she still had her bag of cookies. She was eating his cookies. You know, we never really get the whole picture sometimes at the point of our reaction to it. So when we think life is a certain way and then everything shifts, we get a different experience. And one of the things that is really important for us to be able to create in our lives is that shift of awareness. So we had that shift of awareness. And then because we were concentrating on being master of our fate, remember, to be master of your fate, you must be master of your state. That's a barbarism. That should be the title of a book. So we wanted to practice having that control over what's going on inside of us. And the easiest way I know to do that is to embark on the 30-day challenge of no complaining. Some of us are on day one again. If you are not involved in this and you want to, it's really easy. All you do is decide you're not going to complain for 30 days. And if you find yourself complaining, not to worry, just start all over again on day one. And if it takes for the rest of your life, great. You know, what we focused on was shut your mouth. If stuff is coming out of your mouth that you don't want to create and live, then shut your mouth. And people were saying, well, I'm still thinking it. Great, but it's not coming out of your mouth. We'll work on the thinking one step at a time. Be quiet in terms of what is going out, setting universal law in motion, and then we get to live out our complaints. So we're moving into not complaining. Well, what do you do when you're not complaining? Well, my gosh, there's nothing to say anymore. Okay, let's practice being grateful. So you got the papers of I'm so happy and grateful. That was from What the Bleep with that wonderful guy, Bob Proctor. I'm so happy and grateful now that. And we filled it out right here in the class, and everybody felt pretty good. And then we read it to each other, and the energy level in the room skyrocketed, and everybody was so excited. And the difference in feeling, remember, if you want to be master of your fate, you have to be master of your state. Your state is your emotional state. If you're speaking it to someone, if you're telling someone what you're so happy and grateful about, you generate more happiness and gratitude. I mean, we could measure the decibel level in the room, and when I asked everybody, how do you feel now? Like, it's fantastic, it's like that. So what we want to do is we want to share that. We want to tell somebody, tell your cat. It doesn't matter, it's not about who you tell, it's about the fact that you tell. You're not just keeping it inside and no, we're letting it out. We're putting that energy out into the world. And then last week we talked about when we set our energy, our consciousness, our focus on something before we go into it. It's like getting up in the morning, doing spiritual practice, setting your intention. You put you over there, and then you walk in to work. But what are you doing? You're walking into you. You're not going to leave your day up to somebody else, especially if you have a history with them being obnoxious and negative. Don't leave your day up to them. What you're going to do is put yourself out in front of you. I used to do a little process every morning that which I am goes out before me. I bring it with me and I leave it behind. Only the highest and best for me goes out before me this day, and only that which is for my highest and best returns to me. And that's just what I would do. Usually when I get in the car, I would just do that. And so if anything came into my experience that day, it had to be for my highest and best, because that's all I'm allowing in. And that which went out from me had to be the best of me. I don't want to give mediocre Barbara. I want to give the best of me out into my world. So last week, we played with this idea of taking this great, happy, joyous, loving, gratitude energy and putting it in places. Put it in your home before you go home. Don't go in there and pick a fight with your spouse. That's dumb. Put all this love energy in there. And Ernest talks about that. Ernest Holmes, who wrote the Science of Mind textbook, talks about filling up your home every day with love. Because you want to live in a home of love. So don't just wait to find it. You know, people say, well, how much love is there? Well, how much did you bring? Because all you get is what you bring in life. So fill up your home with love. Fill up your work with love. If you want the, I know in real estate companies or in lawyers' offices or whatever, you've got the conference room, you know? And that's where the deals are closed. Before we moved here, we were at a conference room closing on a piece of property in Mills River when the seller took the property off the market right as we had all the papers and were literally sitting at the table. So that all worked out great, but if you're one of the realtors involved and you want that deal to close, fill that room up with the energy of completion, the energy of prosperity, that it's a win-win for everybody, and then when you walk in, everything is all set. You know, don't just wait for the winds of fate to blow your wind to you. Don't wait for that. Don't depend on other people's consciousness to be able to provide for you what you want. Do you do that, Sarah? You might want to practice that.
No, I mean, I don't do the other thing, yeah, I'm constantly shooting for that.
Right, because you're a realtor, right?
Yeah.
So you set it up before you ever go in there. Probably before you ever show the property to the buyer, it's already sold.
Pretty much every day, all day for the last 2 years.
Yes. Do you remember who was here yesterday and heard John? And he talked about claiming the tennis court.
I love that.
Every line, the net, the bars, the ground below, all the way to the middle of the earth, the air above it, all the way up to the heavens. He claimed that tennis court and went from someone who couldn't play tennis to someone who was a fantastic tennis player. Through through a mental process of owning that court. And he would do that when we were first together and he was, you know, like working at jobs. Whenever he would go to interview for a job, he would own the office. It was his office. And he would allow the person who was interviewing him to come into his space. And they always offered him the job. He didn't always take it, but he always got the offer because that was his office. Even though when he left, you know, it may go back to somebody else's office, may have somebody's name on the door, he could care less. That was his space. And I've seen him do that at times where he just owns that space. So own your life. Own your life. Put your energy out there before you show up and watch how things fall into place. So I'm interested in who did that over the week and how it went.
I didn't do it over the weekend, I've done it for the last year and a half, and I finally ended up with the job that I wanted. Because I would sit in the office I was in and project myself or picture myself in the other office where I would be over the whole office.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the weird thing was, and this is how the universe loves to laugh at us sometimes, I had applied for 3 other places with the two should do the same job. And I ended up getting one of them, but I never got the call back. They called me and told me they wanted me to, but then you have to be approved by the state for this other part. So it ended up that the lady that was over me embezzled some money that I didn't know about, and all this was in the works in the background, and finally when they got rid of her, they hired me for that position.
All things in perfect
That's
order.
it.
Yes.
I pictured myself every day sitting at the desk, and I turned the office around even with the furniture the way I wanted it turned.
Good.
So it
Good.
wasn't somebody else's office, it was my office.
Right.
And
Right.
that's the way my furniture is turned today.
Of course it is. Who else? Kristen.
I really wanted to get this apartment that I looked at, and I like arranged all my furniture in my head and looked at the floor plan every night and thought about going home there and everything I would do and where everything would go, and I got it. I signed the lease yesterday.
Good for you, Kristen. Who else? You talked about gathering up energy and putting it there. Amy.
Yes, I got a promotion this week, and I actually got that from my job being eliminated, so.
Job was eliminated, you were not.
That's right. Yeah,
Yes.
I was eliminated that morning, by that afternoon.
You were never eliminated.
Right.
Your job was
My
eliminated.
job was eliminated, and I had an interview with a senior vice president for a couple of jobs, and I got to pick which one I wanted by that afternoon.
Yay, Amy. Who else? Margaret.
Well, I did it with having to mow all those leaves on my property Friday, front and back. I have a third of an acre. So I gathered up all that energy and just filled it with all my property and went out there and just cut everything, and I ended up to be not as tired as usual.
Right, right, because you weren't fighting
I
it.
wasn't fighting, I was
Yes.
going to enjoy it.
Did you feel, and this is something we talked about last week, did you feel that experience of gathering energy and moving it somewhere, putting it somewhere? Yeah. You know, and people say, well, that's not a 5-step spiritual mind treatment. So what? The 5-step spiritual mind treatment is supposed to take you somewhere. And there are all kinds of ways to get there. Sometimes when you're driving down the road and there's a truck coming at you, you don't have time for a 5-step spiritual mind treatment. You may want to learn to move some energy pretty fast. So what we did is we practiced feeling this feeling and then putting that feeling where we were going to go in time and space in the future. And then we went there, and the directions were, the homework was to see how different that was to be in your own energy that you put there. Patty.
I began putting peace and love in my office when we were talking a number of weeks ago. And no one else responded that I worked with, but I felt better. And after last week's class, I began putting more stuff in there. And there's been I have work studies students that work for me, and they've just been so happy and smiling, and they're passing their tests interesting to see responses from people that, not that talk to me out in the hall, but if they finally walk in the office, it's like they go,
Yeah.
it's good in here.
Stop and breathe. It's okay for you to put it out in the office, in the hallway.
In the hall.
It's okay for you to put it out in the hallway. You can't hurt anybody with this.
Right.
You can't. You know, if someone's driving crazy down the road and they're stomping on the gas and zipping around and look like they're an accident in the making, send them some energy, some love, some safety, because I don't want to be next to someone that has an accident. I don't want to be anywhere around that. I don't want that in my awareness or my energy field at all. So it's very selfish and good for me. Everything's okay. You know, you're safe. Everybody around you is safe. I figure if anybody is close enough for me to see them, then they are in my consciousness by right of consciousness. And there is some agreement at some level for them to be in my energy field. So if they're in my energy field, they're going to be fine. You're all in my energy field. Your life is getting better as we sit here. Your life is getting better and better and better because you are in this energy which I put into this room. Now you come in and you put this energy into this room too, and we have a wonderful energetic soup. And it feels great. And we leave here and, I don't know, sometimes I can't sleep. You know, I get so charged up and excited from the energy in the room that I can't even go home and sleep. But not only that, tomorrow morning, your day is shifted, you're changed. And so when it could have just as easily been that not only was your job eliminated, but that you didn't have another one, instead you got to meet with the vice president and pick which job you wanted. What makes that? What makes, and there was someone right next to you, what makes one person go down to unemployment and the other person get to pick which job they want? There were obviously two jobs to pick, but that other person didn't get to pick. Just Amy got to pick. They didn't even get the one that Amy didn't pick. What's the difference? The difference is in our expectations. It's in what we're putting out. It's in our belief system about how life works. Well, you know, you work at a job for 9-10 months and then you're going to get fired. You know, if you have that kind of an experience and a belief system, you're going to create that. Instead of, I love my job, I'm so happy and grateful for my job, I'm wonderful, everything in my life is working out perfectly, and then you get a surprise that says, oh my gosh, I don't have a job anymore, but you hang on to that idea that everything is fine, and you get a new one. That's you. That's your energy, it's your consciousness, it's your belief, it's your subjective, it's all of that showing up in form as your life. So what we want to do is we want to learn how to manipulate that in a good way instead of just waking up and going, oh, whatever. Well, my goodness, if we go whatever, we're going to get whatever everybody is thinking all at once, and most people on the planet are not thinking great thoughts. They're not feeling a lot of love and happiness and joy and gratitude. Most people on the planet are hanging out in that security level. They're afraid. It's the fight or flight. It's the saber-toothed tiger. It's the limbic brain. And that's what they think life is. And what we want to do is we want to rise up. We want to rise up to where we know that everything is unfolding perfectly and wonderfully. That everything is great. So that we can not go into fight or flight. We cannot have that surge of adrenaline take us over. We can continue to breathe. Remember, when you go into fight or flight and the adrenaline is released in your body, and it's one of those automatic nervous system things, you really don't have much control over it. Once you get afraid, there's a physiological process that happens so that if someone really is swinging a baseball bat at your head, you don't know how you ducked and got out of the way, but you did. That's the adrenaline, and that's the fight or flight. But what happens is that the fight or flight response, remember, takes all of your blood and puts it into your limbs so that you can lift cars up off of people, jump out of the way, react with lightning speed that you didn't even know you had. This is something that happens physiologically. The problem is that you have no blood left in your brain. So you're stupid. So that if it's not a baseball bat coming at your head or a car veering over the line or something that you really need to react to, if it's just that somebody annoyed you or irritated you and you have such a lack of control over your emotions that you just went ballistic, then you're stupid. I mean, it's just, it's not a judgment call, it's just a physiological fact. So what we want to do is we want to practice this idea that says even if we're scared and we don't know what's happening, because there was that time that morning when you were scared, I don't know what's happening, we can breathe and know that only good can come from this, that everything's going to be fine, because even if I don't have my job that I love, I'm still okay. And so we take those deep breaths and we stop that fight or flight response. And when we do that, we lift ourselves out of the security levels of the hierarchy of needs, and we start exploring these other levels. Levels of love, levels of connection, levels of experiencing life at a greater level. You know, if you're starving to death, you're not gonna really appreciate the beautiful picture on the wall. So what we want to do is we want to rise up to a different level that has love and connection and beauty in it. And I am just a fan of happiness. Is there anybody else that wants to share? Yes, Elaine.
Yeah, I have found that I'm better at moving energy when I don't have time to think about what I need to do. Like we were coming up here Friday night, and I'm too long, it's 75 or so, because my foot's kind of lead. And all of a sudden, both lanes in front of me are at a dead stop. And all I remember is just seeing like this blanket of air in front of me as I hit the brake. And I probably was this far from the bumper in front of me when I stopped.
Right. Good.
And there have been several occasions over the years when I have done this. You know, if I have time to think about it and plan what I want to do, somehow I get kind of scattered. But if I don't have time,
Well, practice though. Gather up some happy energy and put it somewhere. And then go there. Put it in Ingles. You know, put it in Walmart. God knows they need it. Really. You ever been to Walmart at 2 o'clock in the morning? Cranky people driving around cranky children. So put some happiness out there. Oh, really? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. What are you doing with that kid? Put some happiness out there. Keep your judgment, close your mouth. Be so happy and grateful that we have a place like Walmart that people can take their children to at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that everything is fine, and then send out some love. Send out some love. Practice that. Practice that. My dog loves for me to throw love on her. She just loves it. She doesn't like it when I throw things that are not love. You know, like, she gets it right away. But the problem with that is that I get it too. Every time I go, I get it. And every time I send out that love, I get it. So I love being happy. And I realized that this class, that was a history of where the class has been, bringing us up to present day. And I think it's a really good logical progression of how to move ourselves down the road. And for me, where I want to be in life is I want to be in my joy. And that expresses as the concept for me that joy is kind of airy-fairy, you know. I want to be happy. I just want to be happy. I want to laugh a lot. I want to love deeply. I want to enjoy what I'm doing in life. I want to be happy. So in progressing further down the path, what I have for you this evening is a test. It's called a happiness test. And it is going to check out your happiness level. Nobody is going to see your test.
Nobody's gonna see
get a grade. You're not gonna get a grade, nobody's gonna see it, this is just for you. So be honest with me. How are you doing? You need one more? We have extras?
I'll give my drink.
Here you go, Chet.
Thank you.
What are you trying to do?
It's kind of monopolizing.
Does everyone have one? Does anyone need a pen? Does anyone need more time? Well, I do, you know, and it particularly shows up around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I. Okay, so, first of all, look at your page and you can see a general trend. Notice if you have any not truths, that certain things just are not true for you. And notice if you have any very truths, certain things you are really on top of. Most people will probably be in the middle. You see that? If you can just glance at it and see a general trend about your state, about how your life is, about how you are experiencing life. So the first one is, I know who I am and I like myself. It's good. It's good to know who you are and to like yourself. And we're going to go over these individually in a minute. But so many people try to be something other than themselves, and then they wonder why they're not happy. I did that in relationships for years. Try to be the person I thought they wanted, except they didn't really want that person and I didn't like being it. Whether or not you give your attention to the most important relationships in your life. Sometimes we take the person closest to us for granted because we can. You have a comment, Sylvia?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, my dog, I found, is a real mirror of whether I'm current on that.
Good, good. you have a sense of purpose or that you love your work. You can have a job that you don't love. If you hate it, that's something to look at. But you don't have to have your end-all be-all purpose in life be your job. You can have a job, but do you have a sense of purpose? That's important to look at. And your sense of purpose can be anything. It doesn't have to be world peace. It can be anything. I choose my attitude, and I love this. This is from Robert Holden. He's got a book on happiness. He's got a number of books and workshops and things on happiness. And this says, I choose my attitude most of the time. So yeah, we're not always going to be at total choice of our emotional state and attitude. But most of the time, are you at choice or are you reactive? Gratitude. I appreciate my life as it happens. Yeah, gratitude. Forgiveness. I'm good at letting go of past hurts and disappointments. You know, how often do you tell your story about your ex? How often does the story of the traumas and dramas of your childhood come up? About the last job, you know, all of that. You can check yourself out by listening to yourself and see how often you're going over those triangulated victim, rescuer, perpetrator, triangulated relationships and stories where you end up being victimized. That's always a clue. Particularly if there's a victim anywhere, that's a clue. Humor. I know how to have fun. And I do. I actually have fun.
Yeah.
Very important. Health. I look after myself and take care of my well-being. Sometimes that's sitting down on the couch. Sometimes that's getting up off the couch. Spirituality. I know what inspires and supports me. Very important to have a connection with that which is greater than yourself. And I love our teaching, which has it be in you. It is you. And of course, it's greater than our experience of ourselves because it's greater than anything we can even imagine. That connection, that feeling. And your here and now. I believe happiness is a way of living. And that is instead of a goal to be achieved or something to be gotten. So before we go into this in more detail, did anybody learn anything about themselves? Were there any surprises? You've come a long way, baby. Yes, yes. Give yourselves a pat on the back. If this would have been different a year ago. Dan?
I think that some days I'm more on my spiritual game than others, so I had to take it back a notch, because on my best day, yeah, very true, but that's not always the case, so, yeah,
Good.
it goes up and down, so.
And you're not competing for this. Even against yourself, you're not competing for your happiness level. Good, good, good. Who else? Check.
Forgiveness. I am good at letting go of past hurts and disappointments. Really true.
Good to
I have a problem
know.
with that.
Good to know, because that will rob you of your joy. It'll also rob you of your money. I mean, just to put it in plain words, it'll make you sick. It'll rob you of your money, it'll rob you of your joy. Holding on to that energy, that energy will hurt you. You know, and it's couched with tears of sadness, overwhelm. It's the same thing, it'll make you sick, it'll take away your money, it'll make you miserable, it's all the same game. And it's somehow a game that is about not wanting to be the amazingly powerful spiritual being that you are. So just to look at that. There was a self-help book back in the 60s, 70s called The Fear of Success. And we're not afraid of our smallness. Most of us are very comfortable with our smallness. we're afraid of our magnificence, like Marianne Williamson said. Did you have something else you were gonna say?
No.
Okay,
No.
okay. Anybody else wanna share something? Tim, Tom?
Well, when I first looked at it, psychologically, I could go very true with all of it, but when I compared it to my timeline, I had to ratchet it back a notch for a few things. So it's more like, you know, the past was what made me suck it back.
Well, it's good to, I'm always suspect of someone who would go very true on everything. My weakest point in here is, knowing how to have fun and then doing it. Yeah, and that was good for me. It's like, dang, I have to have more fun. I'm gonna have to schedule fun. First of all, I'm gonna have to figure out something to do that's fun other than going to the beach, because I can only do that once every 8 weeks, and it's not fair to wait 7 or 8 weeks to have a week of fun. I need to schedule some more fun in here. Donald and then Sarah.
I just wanted to know, who's Dr. Robert Holden?
That's what I said. He's written a number of books on happiness. He's a therapist, and he specializes in happiness.
He's current.
Yes, he's current, my kind of guy. Sarah.
So I took the test and then added them up. So 2 somewhats, 3 mostly, and 5 very, and then put different shapes around each one so that I could see areas of improvement.
Good.
Right? So like circles around things that need improved, rectangles around things that are okay, and then whatever, exciting around stuff that I'm good. So the areas of improvement is interesting to me because I know that when you don't get certain things that you want, there's a block there, and I have a hard time identifying my blocks. Because the things I excel at are attitude, gratitude, humor, spirituality, and now. And when you're in that place, you're like, why is that not working? But by doing this, I can see that forgiveness and work are areas of improvement. And it's true, like that, my block is forgiveness, and it's hard. I don't know why, but I have a challenge there. So now I know at least now I know where the block is. Because I thought I had done well with that.
I think that sometimes we hold on to things we're not willing to forgive because we think that we have a right to feel bad about that. It was awful. It was cruel and painful and terrible. But what we don't see is that by holding on to it, then we rob ourselves of our power. We rob ourselves of our health and our money and our joy. And at what point we've got to kind of balance it, well, how much of a rush am I getting off of feeling victimized here, that I have a right to my anger and anybody would be upset, if that had happened to them. How much is that worth in my life? And how much is all this stuff that I'm losing worth? I was saying once that you can take $100 bills and for every minute you want to be angry, just go ahead and burn one. I'm so mad. Oh, can you believe it that they did that? Just keep burning those $100 bills because that's what it's costing you by blocking your energy. Karen.
Well,
It's Karen in the back with your hand up.
in my mind, I think that I've forgiven, and then the next level of that is not forgiving myself for not being that what they expected. I think that's a real catch point for me that kind of keeps me going around the whirlpool.
And I think that comes back to the first part, that when we find out who we are, we really let ourselves off the hook for not being something other than we are. I love just saying what I think. I love that, because then I don't care if someone wants me to be something different. I'm really clear about who I am. Oh, you shouldn't post things about football. I love football. I love people tackling and hurting and tight pants and running. And I love this football. Bump, pow, wham. I love that. So there's that little voice that says, the Dolphins won. You should just celebrate that all over Facebook. Yes, I should. If I know who I am, I don't try to be something that I'm not, because I've got who I am. If I don't know who I am and I'm empty and lost, I'll try out all kinds of things. Well, maybe I should be this person, maybe I should be that person, maybe I should be this person, maybe you'll love me if I'm like this, or if I do that, because I don't know who I am. So I think the more that we're comfortable in our own skin, the more we let ourselves off the hook for what we're not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, we're not all things. We're not. Some things we're good at, some things we're not. John's not allowed to touch plumbing. He's not good at it, and he's too strong. Last time he touched plumbing, he ripped the pipes out of the wall. You know how much water there is in those pipes? He's good at a lot of things. He's not good at auto mechanics. Eric is a genius with auto mechanics. You know, there are certain things we're good at and certain things we're not. So when we're aware of who we are, it's easier to be okay in our own skin and to let all that other stuff go. And there's such freedom, not having to be everything for everybody. It's such a relief. Yes?
What about not being a morning person?
You're not a morning person.
Well, and you know, to be happy,
You have to
a
wake
way
up
of
and do it.
being. Yes. So I really have a hard time. So, but you know, I do things like go for a walk, play with my dog, and listen to great music, and I pull myself out of that. But I can tell you, it's I come alive in the evening.
So perhaps instead of trying to change your state in the morning, you could change your life before you get up at noon.
Yes,
I mean, there's a whole world of nighttime going on. I don't see it because I'm asleep by 8:30 usually. And then I'm up at 5, you know?
Oh, I wish I could do that.
No, you wish your lifestyle would support you being up all night.
So I love my new job, and my old job, I could come in at noon and work till 9. My new job, I'm 7:30 to 8 o'clock. And it's like painful.
So is there some way you can adjust your hours?
I've been working on that. I've been trying to find ways. I'm the last one to leave, so I'm coming in a little bit later, but then there's mandatory meetings, and I don't know. I really would like to shift that way that I am in the morning. I would like to be happier in the morning.
Why?
So that I can enjoy, so that I can be happy all the time, not just certain
But
times of
just
the
to
day.
be really, really honest, do you really want to get up in the morning?
Oh, no.
That's part of knowing yourself.
Holy. I mean, 9 o'clock maybe, but 7:30. That's hard. I'm complaining. Sorry.
Don't be sorry, you're not sorry. Bring it into intention and energy and focus. Because if I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, that wouldn't work for me. Or if I had to work from 11 to 7, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. It's not my rhythms. So instead of making yourself wrong, why don't you see if you can bring your job into alignment with who you are? And if not, you may find that there is a more perfect job for you. What we try to do is we have an image, an idea of who we should be, how we should be. Usually it's like everybody else. Well, everybody else gets up in the morning. So I should get up in the morning, and if I'm cranky, there's something wrong with me, so there's something that needs to be changed or fixed. Instead of, this is who I am. This is who I am, and I'm going to be okay with that instead of trying to change it. Isn't it amazing? Wouldn't it just be amazing if everybody was okay with who they are?
You can turn it like this, it becomes a graph with the valleys and the highs and lows.
Okay. Cool. He says turn it sideways and you'll see a graph. Laura.
I was kind of amused at I believe happiness is a way of living.
That's interesting.
Because in my head, I believe that. And then when I look, how come I'm not happy all the time? So it's kind of a different type of question. I mean, to me, you can believe that, but if you're not living it, does it mean you really don't believe it, or it hasn't made it somewhere?
Well, it's very possible that number 1 through 9 might be blocking. You know, do you really accept yourself for who you are? Have you let go of all past hurts? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you having fun? Do you have a spiritual connection? Do you have great relationships? Do you have a strong sense of purpose in life? You know, if you look at those things, are you choosing your attitude? So if you're looking at those things and you're blocked, then, right, you can think, well, happiness is not a destination, it's a process. It's about everyday life and being happy instead of buying happiness or somehow achieving it. But if you're blocked, you're not going to be feeling happy. And so all of these things that are not true, rarely true, or even somewhat true, those are those lower levels of consciousness. And what we want to do is we want to bring them up. Just bring them up a little bit, and what you'll find is that your body's healthier, you have more money, you're happier, you're more joyous, things are working out better, you've got synchronicity, and things just click. If you just shift that energy a little bit. And what this does is this helps you see where you're blocked and gives you a little bit of motivation to begin to change that area. Because I am so selfish. I want what I want. I want to have lots of money. I always want to hear yes from the world. And I want to be who I want to be and do what I want to do. And I want it now. So if that's not happening, that's not life. That's me. Where am I blocked? Where am I still holding on to some idea that I'm stuck, that I'm in effect, that somebody else has control over me, whether it's governments or economies or politicians or whatever, that there's something that is telling me what I can and cannot be. You know, if I have that thought, then my life doesn't work. I mean, to the point where whether or not they pick the garbage up out by the street, that all has to do with my energy. Also has to do with people putting garbage cans too close together and then the garbage truck just goes on by, but that's all about me. Everything in my life is about me. And if I'm blocked, if I'm not feeling great, then my life is going to show it in all kinds of myriad ways. And I want to be happy. I want to feel that. I want to feel those surges of energy. You know what that feels like? It's like, that's me. I've got to be open because it's right there. It's trying to come out. If I've got it all shut down, then it can't. But if I open up to it, then it can. Bob.
Yeah, I was dealing with something in the area of, I say to myself, I have to. And then I got, I thought about I have to. I don't have to do anything. I choose to do.
Yes, you
And
get
that,
to.
Yeah, and exactly. But it was to that point, I was like, why do I want to do this? Because I have to do this. And
Right.
like, well, I really don't want to do it. I just know I don't have to do anything. I choose it. That
Living
makes a
life
big
out
difference.
of duty and obligation
Yes.
is awful.
It
and
is.
fun. You know, it's duty. It's duty. Okay, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll pass out the new papers. And this is from Robert Holden. I edited it minorly. And some of it was, dear God, so keep that out. But these are his 10 ways to increase your happiness. And they correlate with the questions on your happiness test. So the first one, self, I know who I am and I like myself. Happiness is your original nature. It is what you first experienced before you began to identify with a body, a family role, school grades, your nationality, your business card, your social security number, and any other labels you keep. So just take a minute and think about what labels you identify with. When I had my women's groups, the very first question was, who are you? Oh, I'm a Waterhouse. No, you're not. Who are you? Oh, I'm a mother, a grandmother, a minister. No, you're not. Who are you? And you just keep asking yourself that until there aren't any more labels to define yourself. And then you start to get to who you are. Karen.
Wayne Dyer says, if you are what you do, when you don't, you aren't.
Right. You're what you do, then when you stop doing it, you're nobody.
Right.
Right. True happiness is being faithful to your true nature. The better you know yourself, what is it you love? What inspires you? What you are made of. That should be, what are you made of? The happier you will be. When you forget who you are, something very strange happens. You begin to search for happiness. So if you're looking for happiness, it's because you've forgotten who you are. Isn't that simple? Because once you remember who you are, you're happy. Wow. Happiness is your spiritual DNA. It is what you experience when you accept yourself, when you relax, when you stop neurosing. Isn't that a great word? When you stop neurosing about looking a certain way, what someone else is doing or what you should be doing with your life. You will increase your happiness score significantly if you can begin to accept that the happiness you hope to get after you find your true partner, get the dream job, buy the ideal home, and earn the right money is already in you. Joy is the organic state of your soul. It is not something you achieve. It is something you accept. Wow. You know, the whole thing of how do you look? Accepting yourself. I've known some models in my life, and they are pretty screwed up puppies.
You bet.
You know what it takes to look like a 12-year-old?
Oh.
I used to know a model, and I was over at her house once, and this was years gone by, but she took a Percocet and a hit of scotch and said, "There's dinner." You know, that's the way that she lived. She blew her brains out later, but that's the way she was living.
Oh my God.
That was Teresa. So this idea that says we're not supposed to be who we are. We're not supposed to have blemishes. We're not supposed to be a certain weight. We're not supposed to have ears that are two different heights. You know, we're not supposed to. Everybody's got different height ears. Yes. Everybody does. Everybody does. I once read something about people who have faces that are skewed. You know, like one whole side of their face is different and they look weird. That those people have been found to be more intuitive and psychic and aware than people who are all symmetrical and you know, fitting that balance. Sylvia, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to say, I just heard a interview of Sharon Stone with Oprah, and she was talking about this whole thing of models and how people look and all. And she said the best lesson that she ever got was a friend of hers was a fashion editor or photo stylist or something, and took her to a shoot. And this model was there, this beautiful woman, and they had her boobs all like taped up with electrical tape and all this stuff and all. And she said she realized that it's such an illusion what you see that we aspire to.
Right.
And she said that was one of the best lessons she had for accepting herself, and, you know, and realizing the image that's put out as beautiful, that nobody looks like that.
Right, and isn't it a strange society that would covet the image of a prepubescent girl as our image of beauty? And there was a time when the bigger the woman, the better it was. Because that showed prosperity.
Right body,
You know, you have enough money that you can eat well. It's funny how tans go in and out of style. It used to be that the lighter skin you were was more beautiful because it meant you didn't have to work out in the field. And now, you know, people go to tanning booths to try to tan themselves up. It's just this weird cultural idea of what we're supposed to look like. I think we should all run around butt naked and just feel good about ourselves. That's what we do.
Not on Monday night.
But you know, I've known people who did that whole nudist thing, and they say that what happens is that all of your judgments fly out the window because everybody looks pretty much the same when you're naked. And so there's great value in that, this whole Polynesian, you know, I've got a couple of coconut shells on and that's only for protection. But other than that, we're just kind of all the same person. And when we can embrace that that's just how we are, you know, it's just how we are and we're okay, is that I'm okay, you're okay thing. So that we can get off this crazy idea that we should change the way that we are so that we can be something that we think we should be. And remember, the 11th commandment is thou shalt not should on thyself. So what about relationships? What about spending important time with the people who are important to you?
I didn't know how to read that question.
Your most important relationships get your best attention. Instead of giving your best attention to paying bills and then telling your good friend you don't have time to be with them, or wasting your time with someone on the phone that's a salesperson when really you want to be spending time with your dog. You know, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Relationships are going to require input. You have to invest in them. Otherwise, you know, if you ignore people, they will eventually just go away.
Yes, they will.
So if someone's important to you, are they important enough to put time into? And what I said in the beginning was we tend to take people for granted that we are closest to. And often that's because we can't. The flip side of that is one day we look around and they're not there anymore because we took them for granted. So if you invest time in your friendships, you're going to have better friendships. If you invest time in your relationship, you're going to have better relationships. That requires that you put energy and attention into it. Becca.
Sandy and I have been together for 16 years, and a number of people ask us how we have such a good relationship. And I chalk it up to the first 7 years we were together, we worked separate shifts. And we actually had to focus on spending time with each other because otherwise we wouldn't get to see each other.
Right, right. Yeah, John traveling has some great benefits. You know, I miss him. I miss him. That's nice. To see someone after you miss him, for me to see him after I miss him makes me really appreciate him being here. See.
And now we never are any further apart than this usually.
But you appreciate each other.
Yes, yes, and we are not, it's really weird. It's like sometimes people will come up to us and forget that we're two different people. We really are. We really are. And
it's interesting how that is and how it evolves and changes.
But we have to take time to know that we love the other one to make it.
Right, right. And then we had to learn that we love ourselves too. Right. Which is one of the biggest lessons she's taught me how to do. Good. Good. How about work? Again, you don't have to have the end-all, be-all job, but it's important to have some kind of sense of purpose. Raising goats and chickens is purpose. It is. I remember when I had farm animals. I loved it. I loved it. You know, you don't have to be all, I'm gonna change the world and bring about world peace. What is your purpose of it? Well, John, you know, he stands up as a purpose is to reveal and release the human spirit in all that I see and all that I do. And, oh, geez Louise, can I not just have my purpose be to cook really good food? You know? Can I not have my purpose be to play? Your purpose can be anything, but you have to have some sense of purpose. Your purpose might be to go camping. Your purpose might be to sew. What is it that gives you a sense of importance in your life? This is important to me. I remember when I sewed decades ago, but I used to make all my own clothes, and I would love that. I would stay up late at night, into the night, because I had it all figured out, you know, and you can't quite quit until it's all put together. So I would sew, and I love that. I love that. Do you have a sense of purpose? Or are you just going through the motions of waking up, living your life, and going to sleep, and you wonder why you feel empty? Yes?
I just have to share, one of the things I really, really love to do that get me excited is take pictures. And it was such a beautiful fall, and you know, so some friends, actually just some people that saw my pictures, they were interested in taking a look at more of them. And it's a company, and they decided they want to use my pictures for their calendar. And they're gonna make a whole bunch of them to give me, like give out for Christmas presents. And you know, I'm not getting paid anything. I don't want to be. It's not about that. I just felt so excited, like just like a little kid.
Like this is fun?
It was fun.
There you go.
Fun.
This is fun.
And take pictures, and it's 2 hours later. My husband's like, "Where have you been?"
It's worth getting up in the morning for.
What's that?
And it is worth getting up in the morning for.
Or if that's her purposeful job, then maybe she could start at 12 o'clock doing it,
Right.
it'd be okay.
Sunset's not sunrise.
See? Make all your pictures from 12 o'clock to midnight, okay?
Maybe.
Sunset.
Find some value in what you do. If it's in your job, fine. If it's not in your job, fine. If you don't have value in what you do something that has value so that you'll have value in what you do. But sometimes when we're on the spiritual path, we get the wrong idea that we have to be altruistic, that this has to be feeding the homeless or stopping fracking or whatever, you know, that we have to have some kind of idea of doing good for all of humankind instead of doing something that we love, whatever that may be. Plant a flower, you know, get a puppy, take a picture, go for a ride, whatever it is, have a sense of purpose, that your life has meaning and purpose, not about what is my legacy and what am I going to leave for future generations. Future generations are on their own.
Yeah.
How happy are you going to be in this life? Kathy?
I just was hung up on your purpose for years and years and years until I went to listen to Carolyn Mays. And she said that your purpose is not a job. And that kind of blew my mind, but it was like this big thing lifted from me, you know. And she said, your purpose might just be being a soul in this neighborhood. That needs your energy. That could be your purpose in life. And it was like just such a relief, you know. I don't have to, you know, I'll figure this out, but it's not a job. And I always really link those two together.
Right, and it goes back to know who you are and like yourself, and do what you like to do. Do what you want to do. And you'll find that that has value for you. Instead of trying to compare ourselves to Mother Teresa, now I've got to do that. I never could compare. I never stood a chance against those kinds of comparisons. So don't do it. Have your purpose be to go into Ingles and smile. Just to be a happy person and to radiate that light and that love out. That's good. That's all about elevating consciousness in the cosmic soup. Instead of dragging everybody down. Oh, I gotta have to do this. Donald.
Yeah, I see that if we want to take care of the world, we have to remember that we're a part of it.
Exactly. Exactly, Donald, and coming from you, that's big. Well, you wanted me to treat for you that you do something that changes the world for years. For years. And you're a part of that, so if you take care of yourself, the world will take care of itself. Good for you. So attitude, I choose my attitude most of the time. Is there anyone that still feels like they can't control their emotions? It's okay if you're angry. That's all right. Know that you're burning $100 bills and making yourself sick, but it's okay if you're angry. One of the things that has helped me instead of I'm angry, remember the power of the I am, is I'm doing anger. And we got that from Tony Robbins. I'm doing anger. How are you doing? I'm doing anger. I'm doing some frustration right now. I'm doing some resentment. Want to hear about it? No. But what it does is it makes you in charge. I'm doing some sadness right now. It's the anniversary of whatever. I'm doing some sadness. I'm doing some grief.
So it's words that say, I choose to do this, and then you can choose
And then
easier.
you can choose not. If you're choosing to do it, you can choose to stop.
Exactly.
Well, let me know when you're done, when you're going to stop doing sadness and want to do some happiness, and call me. Because I'm doing happiness. Chet.
Just to go along with what you just said, this spring and this summer, I had a situation that made me very, very angry.
That you chose to be very, very angry about.
Yes,
Thank you.
exactly. June and July are normally my best months for business. I had practically none during that entire time this year.
Do you think the anger impacted your business?
I do,
Yes.
I really do.
Isn't that powerful? Because then it's as if you're sitting in an office with the door locked and the closed sign hanging out saying nobody's coming in. And somebody says, well, if you have the closed sign and the door locked, no one can come in. So then you're at choice to unlock the door and turn it to open. And that's your choice to stop being angry and let all the people who want you to teach them how to fly a plane come see you. Yeah, that's amazingly powerful, and sometimes I think it's worth the season of lost income to get that your business level is all about you. Because then it doesn't matter whether it's the weather or the location or the economy, it doesn't matter, it's all about you.
And I turned it around now. And I've got two flight students, and they're flying with me on a regular basis.
That's wonderful. But you have to stop being angry, and this is just spiritual maturity. You have to stop being angry. You have to stop feeling like a child. You have to stop defaulting to negative feelings. You have to. Sooner or later you will, so you might as well not waste the rest of your life. You might as well go ahead and do it now. Just let it go. Gratitude. I appreciate my life as it happens. Are you grateful? Have you been doing your I'm so happy and grateful? Yeah. What have you found to be grateful for? Give me something from today or yesterday.
It's not snowing.
It's not snowing. And then tomorrow you can be grateful that it is snowing.
I am grateful for the view out of my new office window.
Wonderful, the view out of your office. Those of you who have been doing that, I'm so happy and grateful. What are you happy and grateful for yesterday and today? Throw something in the room. Just throw it out.
John came back.
John came back, really. Kathy,
My grandkids aren't sick anymore.
your grandkids aren't sick, they're healthy.
Yeah.
Sandy?
Friends and chosen family.
Yes, it's Thanksgiving time. We get to have more than our biological family. Yes.
My life.
Your life, yes. When you practice that, your happiness goes up. And he says there are two biggies, meta attitudes. One is gratitude and one is forgiveness. And he said if you can get a handle on those, you will become much measurably happier. Gratitude, you just go around and with your mantra, I'm so grateful that there were chairs here today. I'm so grateful that the heat is on. I'm so grateful for electricity. I'm so grateful for lights. I'm so grateful that people brought food. People brought a lot of food. They cooked for us today. That's what?
And it was yummy.
And it was yummy.
That was very
I'm so
nice, whoever
grateful
did
for
that, thank you.
That makes you happier. And remember, it makes you healthier, lets you have more money, more friends, all of that. It's all tied up. And then we have forgiveness. Forgiveness. And we live in a culture that doesn't teach or expect us to do a lot of forgiveness. We actually get a lot of justification. You know, something happens and the news bullets are, who's to blame? Who's to blame here? Who are we gonna blame? Well, that doesn't help. Punishment doesn't even help. Going and bombing somebody doesn't help. What helps is letting that energy go from ourselves. Any of you who have had childhood experiences, I don't want to hear about them. But whatever that may be, at whatever level anyone had childhood experiences, has your lack of forgiveness of that changed the experience? No. But
Changes everything.
so those of you who have moved into forgiveness for any childhood experience, did moving into forgiveness change that experience?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, it changed everything. I learned this from Edwene decades and decades ago. She's gonna be here the first Sunday in January. And she's just wonderful. I met her when I was, I think, 28, and I'm 61, so however long that is, 32 years ago. She said that changing the ideas from someone hurt us to we decided prior to incarnation to master this experience of power or compassion or love, whatever that was. And someone loved us so much. You know, here we have two souls getting ready to move into incarnation, and here I am, I'll use me, here I am saying, I really want to get my power. I've come close a number of lifetimes, but I really want to get who I am. And I want to do it as a woman in a man's world and a woman in a man's field. We still have people come in and look at me and say, is the pastor in? Hello? I hire kitchen help and I have to explain to them, I put the ad out, I interviewed you, I hired you, and I'm gonna write your check. You talk to me. You talk to me. So I'm gonna do it in a man's world, in a man's field, and I'm gonna do it with experiences that take every ounce of power away from me. And then there's this other being of light and love that says, I love you so much, I'll go ahead of you and I will welcome you with open arms. And I will be the one that takes every ounce of power away from you. And I go, oh, thank you, you would do that for me, you love me that much, great, zoop. And then I cry and look around and go, oh my, what have I done? And we call it birth, you know? when we can look at something as an experience of growth instead of this awful thing that happened to us, it starts to change everything. And what this guy says, and what I know from experience, is that when you let it go, and I don't mean forgive and forget. I don't mean forgive and forget. There's a step before that of forgiving. I'm going to forgive you, you dirty, rotten rack and fratchet, for what you did to me. I'm going to forgive you. That's step one. Step two is I'm going to forgive you and forget and just let it go. And step three is there's nothing to forgive. And step four is I'm so very grateful for that experience. Now that's big. To go from you dirty, rotten rack and fratchet to I'm so very grateful to have that experience in my life. Because I'm so much more mindful, I'm so much more clear. You know, and no one says it was easy going through that. What was it? You brought up my Bible, Karen. I'm going through the valley of the shadow of death. They say go through it. You know, don't stop and build a condo. Let me stay in that, you dirty, rotten, rack and fratchet, and let me, I mean, I paid lots of money to therapists to tell them, and I've gotten therapists really who just were amazed that I went through those experiences. I remember one of my crowning moments was when my therapist in Miami looked at me and said, you have an indomitable spirit. Whoa. And I look back at that and say, that is sick. Look how terrible everything is. Oh, this is terrible. You're really great because you're so terrible. I don't want to play that game anymore. I want to move all the way to I am God in form as me. Everything happened in divine concert by divine appointment, and I have flourished through this. And nobody said it was easy, but nobody is saying life is easy. Life is not about surfing the couch. It's not. It's about living. So when you can start to make that shift, and if you just make it a step at a time, then that's okay. You're moving. And the more you move, the more money you have, the healthier your body is, the better your relationships are, the happier you are. If you're feeling stuck, then go back and look and see if you're being grateful and see if you have some forgiveness work to do. You know? Because there are no victims, there are only volunteers. And it looks like we all volunteered. Humor. I know how to have fun and I do it. What do you do for fun?
Go for a walk out in nature.
Go for a walk out in nature. What else? Paint a picture. What else? Dance. What else? Tell jokes. What else?
Go hiking.
Photography.
Hiking.
Hiking.
Spend time with like-minded people.
Spend time with like-minded people. Drumming, crochet, cooking.
Whatever I feel like.
Whatever you feel, you can fly in an airplane all day. Very cool. What else? What do you do for fun?
Sing.
Sing, rock, collect.
Have conversations with my dogs and reply for them.
Yes, that's big.
Kids that talk back and
Yeah,
forth to
we
each
talk
other.
to each other.
They really do.
That's wonderful.
They have their own conversation.
Uh-huh.
Understand?
So I'm saying this because there are people in this class that don't know what to do to have fun. They just don't know. Pardon me? Come see Kristen. Okay. I look after myself and take care of my well-being. What are you doing with that? Better. Better. Better is good. Better is movement. Better is good. I don't want people to misunderstand me. I have low tolerance for laziness. And there are those who will use self-care as an out just to flat out be lazy. And I have low tolerance for that, but that doesn't mean that I think you shouldn't take care of yourself. You know, I religiously make a NutriBullet smoothie every morning. I'm taking care of myself. I can eat anything I want the rest of the day because I had my NutriBullet smoothie. I took care of myself. What else do you do? Go to the gym.
Yeah.
God bless you. What else do you do?
Take time to relax and
Get massages. I like that self-care. What?
take time to relax and regenerate.
Take time to relax and regenerate.
Read a book, get facial.
Read a book. Does anybody read trash novels?
Yeah.
We had this thing on the minister's listserv. What are you reading now? There must have been 50 ministers with 10 books, metaphysical books, all listed and not one trash novel. And I thought, this is out of balance.
They're just not posting the trash.
Maybe. But since John became president, I'm not allowed to post on the minister's listserv. All I can do is read, since some of my opinions are pretty strong.
Really, we find that surprising, Barbara.
Oh, I was just saying
But
trash
no,
novels,
but
yeah.
that's how,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it's not something
Fiction.
that you're learning from, it's trash. And
It's just,
to
I
me,
love
a lot
fiction.
of these books have a lot of metaphysical concepts.
Even
and it's
not.
fun.
You know, you get scared, you get startled. It's drama, high drama. There's a TV show called Scandal. There's another TV called Revenge. High drama. We don't want to flip into the fight or flight and get stupid and make stupid choices. But every so often, it's okay to pick up a Stephen King novel, you know, and have that. What?
Remember what happened when you and John watched several episodes
Of The Sopranos. We found The Sopranos late in the season, and we would do marathons of The Sopranos, and then we would have a fight. And because we were trying to catch up, you know, we would have like day after day after day. That was when we were not working nearly as much as we are now. But then we would have a fight because there was all of this shooting and a lot of food. I would always sit down to watch The Sopranos with a big bowl of pasta. You know? But there's this thing about how do you take care of yourself? At what point is enough enough? When it comes to working and cleaning and cooking and taking care of other people, enough is enough. Well, there's still a ring around the tub. Who cares? It's just gonna get dirty all over again. And what was that old commercial about whisk and ring around the collar? Well, tell him to wash his neck. You know, come on. What craziness is there? The wife is scrubbing the collar of the husband. Take a bath. Really. I mean, we just grew up on that and just sucked it up. It's like, oh yeah, we're supposed to be Donna Reed and scrub out the ring around the collars, and that didn't work for any of us.
Those women
So
don't even
how do
exist
you
on
take
this
care of
planet.
yourself?
They're
Going to
gone.
the gym? Great. Taking a nap? Great. Yeah, how do you take care of yourself? What do you
I think there's
Get
a
massage.
real balance between giving yourself permission to relax and then slipping into depression. So there's activity and there's relaxation. As long as you're conscious of what you're doing.
I think if you're comfortable in your own skin and you're doing what you like to do, you're not going to be depressed. I think depression comes from not being you and trying to be someone else. And the gulf is so big, you just fall into it.
That's probably a good flag to look for.
Yeah, if you're depressed, you're not being who you want to be. What do you want to do? Want to go surfing? We'll go surfing. I can't. Sure you can. You know, we have a couple of world-class surfers in our center. David Williams and Joseph O'Neill. Surfers. Joseph O'Neill grew up on Malibu Beach, surfed those long boards, and David Williams still does surf. I can't surf or live in the mountains. Sure you can. Sure you can. What do you want to do? You know, if you're doing what you want to do, you're going to unleash the joy. And if you unleash the joy, depression can't stand a chance. But if you're hiding and cloaking it with self-care, keeping the language clean, then that's just not true. Tom?
Well, I've known some people who took self-care and self-love to the degree where they didn't want to pay the rent because, you know.
That's what I was saying.
They didn't want to, and they didn't want to clean anything. And if you're living with other people, you know, I mean, it seems a little strange, you know, that you're just not doing anything for anybody else.
That's not self-care, that's what I was saying. Thank you. Spirituality. How important is spirituality in your life? Very important. Look at you, you're at Center for Spiritual Living. People who don't have this are so empty and alone. Life is so flat. You know that story about Flatland? Life is so flat. Really? You think this is all that there is? Really? You think that you are just your body and your experiences and your possessions? Really? How flat, when there is so much more going on. And yet, spirituality doesn't just drop itself on your lap. People make time, they open to that, they go for walks, they meditate, they breathe, they listen to music, they create an environment where they can have that connection. And if they're not having that connection, they often catch themselves somewhere down the road and pull themselves back. So, you know, for me, just going into my office and lighting a candle is so sweet. It's just, oh right, this is sacred. This is holy ground. It looks like my office and a pile of papers and a bunch of stuff going on, but it's a sacred experience. Did you have your hand up, Jane?
Sort of.
You guys all, you're like this, you know?
Well, I do have my hand up.
Okay, thank you.
My life is different from a lot of people's in that I don't have family here. I live completely alone, you know, in my house, and which I enjoy. And but I spent the weekend with some friends of mine from Brevard, and they date back to when my husband was around, and so we were like them, you know, just married couple and children and this and that. But now I've got nothing, and I'm quite happy about that. But I've been really depressed since I've seen these people, because I enjoy, I mean, they're old friends and I enjoy doing things, but they're so different from me and they don't understand. And like one of them, who's a close friend, is actually angry at me because my life is so different. I'm not living in a fancy retirement thing, colony or whatever.
Penal colony. They want to rethink that this person is a close friend. Because anyone who is angry with you for being you is not a very good friend.
Yeah, that's what I'm beginning to wonder about.
Yeah. So what I find that we grieve is not the person, because truly we don't really want them. We grieve who we thought they were.
Oh, yeah.
So since depression is just suppressed feeling, then you're grieving that life that you thought you would have. And then your husband died and everything changed, and you're not close to them anymore, but you know, you vacillate now between saying you have no family and saying you have family.
Yeah.
So I encourage you to remember what you said up here, just, was it a week ago? That you have family and they are in this room.
Yeah, this is my preferred family.
Good, because we like you just the way you are.
Yeah.
Karen.
One of the things that I've started doing in the last 2 years, and it really is profound, is every day I ask Spirit to, if I'm not able to get rid of people that don't need to be in my life, for Spirit to move them out of my life. And there's so many people that have moved out of my life. And I can be more real because the people that I was having to not be real with,
Chose.
yes, well, okay.
The people that you chose
That I
to not
chose
be
to not
real,
be
you
real
didn't
with.
have to.
Well, the people that I chose not to be real with are moving out of my life, and now I can be me.
It's an energy thing.
Yes,
It's a
absolutely.
vibrational thing.
So and it really works, and if you have problems, like she's saying, because I'm that way, you know, I kind of grieve over people, and what could I have done differently or whatever. And so now I'm finding that it's not, that doesn't even bother me anymore. If somebody leaves, they just weren't supposed to be in my life, and it's okay.
Right,
Yeah.
right. If someone leaves your life, they're not a fit. And sometimes people used to be a fit, and they're not anymore, and that often comes because one of the two people grew.
Right.
Chances are it's you.
Yeah.
They tell couples, people in couples therapy, if one half of a relationship goes into therapy and the other half doesn't, there's a 9 to 10% chance that that will end in a breakup of the relationship. That's why you guys are together, because you grow together. You've got to grow together. And if someone wants to put you in the way you used to be, Jane, it's not going to happen. You changed.
Yeah, I have a big past, and I guess it just comes, catches up to me, and then I think, gee, I'm not who I was.
You're not who you were, thank God. None of us are who we were.
Homo
Yay, yay. Because I wasn't terribly happy. I want to be happy. So, the last one, now, the here and now, that happiness is a way of life or a way of living, not a destination or a goal or a product or something to turn into. That happiness is now. And if you're not happy now, it doesn't matter what you get, it's not going to make you happy. It may give you a temporary thrill, but that's all it's going to be. And if you're happy now, no matter what happens, you'll be happy during that process. You are the one who decides whether or not you're going to be happy. And if you've got some places that you checked off that you've got work to do or you've got an opportunity to grow, let me say that, then notice that this week. Check yourself out, see what you can do. These are wonderful things. How can I be more aware of myself and do what I want to do? Oh, poor baby, you've got to do that this week. How can I put more time in the relationships that are really important to me? How can I have a better sense of purpose in life, whatever that is? I used to have a purpose of gardening. It was very fulfilling, and I did a lot of good because I gave a lot of food away. But I just wanted to garden, and I let it be okay. And thank God I was married to someone who said, sure, you want to garden? Go for it. I spent a year gardening. And that was my sense of purpose. And I jumped out of bed in the morning excited, about seeds and fertilizer and going and digging out the chicken coop down the road and getting the leaf mold from Broadway and all that stuff. It doesn't have to be the end-all, be-all, but let yourself be you. Let yourself reconnect with you. You want to find your power? It's in you. You just have to be you. And if you want to be happy, let that out. So, have a strong sense of purpose, put time in your relationships, be conscious of choosing your emotions, your feelings, be grateful. Let it go. Whatever it is, let it go. What is it, Charlie's favorite phrase? Charlie Shepherd, suck it up, Cupcake. Let it go. Have some fun. How many people are going to have fun this week? Yay. Oh, it's my spiritual homework. Yes, I'm going to go to the store and learn how to, I've never held a game thing in my hand in my life. I have no idea what you do with it.
What?
Yes.
You can play games.
I'm sure I can. I never have. I've never held that thing. Yes. Take care of yourself. And that means that you have an awareness of what it is you need. So you might want to ask yourself, what does my body want to eat? Not what do I want to shove in my mouth through the drive-through. What does my body want, and am I willing to do that? Am I tired? Do I want to stay up half the night? Or is it 6 o'clock and I want to go to bed? What is it that will take care of me? Is it time for a massage? Yes, it's time for a massage. I've got a hot tub, and I'll go for months. I'll take care of it, I'll change the water, I'll put the chemicals in it, I'll take care of it, and I'll go for months and I won't go in it. That's crazy. It's right 12 feet off my bed. So take care of yourself. Be aware of your spiritual connection. Be mindful. Be aware. Take a deep breath. Enjoy the moment. Feel the connection. And understand that your happiness is here and now. That it's never going to come from outside. Nobody's got it. Nobody can take it away or withhold it. And nobody can give it to you. You've already got it. So it's like that Paracelsus poem, Truth Lies Within Our